Welcome back, everyone, to the Tapping School Summit. I have a topic today that you're going to love and a person that you will love even more. Sarah Penfold is a alumni Tapping School practitioner. She is also an expert when it comes to money, personal finance, the emotions around money, the practical pieces around money. Sarah, I'm so grateful that you are here today sharing these tips with us. I would love for you to share with everyone a little bit about your story and what brought you to tapping.
Amazing. Thanks, Jackie. Hi, everyone. It's 2024 now. My journey kind of began in 2019 with money. I was at a point in my personal relationship with money where, so I'm about 5 years into this journey myself. I was really struggling with a few different things. One, I didn't have a ton of debt, but I was like 7 years behind in my taxes, which just was a real kind of emotional burden, having a perception of being like a responsible adult. Being that far behind, I was in my mid 40s and had no idea about how much I needed to retire. And that was stressful, just kind of looking down the back end of my career and being on my own and like, okay, what does that look like? What do I need? Am I going to have to work, right till the end? And then the other thing was just this feeling of being like an intelligent, self-competent, self-aware person who had my life together in so many different ways, but yet I felt like it was this dirty little secret that my finances or my relationship with my money felt so disrupted and not in good health, basically. So I tried a couple of different things that were really sort of logistical, and what made the difference for me is finding the support that helped deal with the emotional stuff, because as intelligent people with the Google at our fingertips, we can really get all the information at any time. It's the why we don't that I discovered was my issue. So um my the coach that I hired really helped me do that inner look, and I loved the work so much. I ended up working for her for a couple of years in her program, and then I just really felt the call to teach money the way I wanted to, in my own way, with my own spins. And like I have been just, and still to this day, like all I do is absorb money books and podcasts and content. I love it, and so I just wanted to teach it in my own way. And as I was developing my curriculum, because I was learning and had experienced so much about money being so much of an inside job, and like how the subconscious and our unconscious patterns and behaviors really can drive so much of our money reality, I wanted a tool that would really help uncover that and help people dig into their subconscious and shift things at that level, so that the conscious learning and conscious behaviors were then more easy to implement. And tapping was it. And I have said this before with you, is that I have known about tapping for 20 plus years. My mom was a therapist and she learned it as a practitioner. And but when your mom does something, you're like, I don't want to do anything my mom does.
Yeah.
So, but it had been in my awareness as, something in the toolbox of a therapist. And so I was kind of turned on to you by the lovely Alison Braun, and was watching you for, probably 18 months, I think, before I signed on to tapping school. So yeah, it's just been an incredible tool for me. I've loved it personally, just because the stuff I've worked on with myself, worked on with you, and also having a tool like for free that I can do on my own is so important. And that's what I've loved being able to give to my clients as well. You don't need to go and sit in a practitioner's office for $150 or more an hour. You actually have something that is scientifically proven to shift things really, really quickly. And of course, guidance helps, but it's just something that, from a financial lens, I love, because it's financially accessible for anyone.
Oh,
So
I love that that's one of your core values, is really like bringing money down to earth too and making it accessible to everybody. And I mean, that's one thing I love about tapping. Like anyone can tap, anyone can learn to tap. You don't have to have a fancy degree. Like you have the ability to feel emotionally empowered at your fingertips. And one of the things I love that you do, so you now have this amazing program called Sacred Wealth. I'll let you talk a little bit about that. And you do monthly tapping circles, don't you, all around money?
I do. Yeah. So it's something that I offer free to anyone in my community, whether you're a client or just, following me. I do monthly calls, either the first Thursday or first Saturday of the month. I've been alternating them now. So there's an evening one month and then a morning the next month, just to help with people's schedules. And yeah, we just tap on a different topic every month. And when you sign up, you get access to the library as well. So you can go back and look at past topics. So if there's something kind of up for you, you can access those for free, and it's all for free. So yeah.
I love that. And I'm curious, what are some of the things that you tap on with people? Like, is there anything specific? Is it anxiety or avoidance? Any specific themes you notice that are common that you tap on with people?
Totally. Yeah. It's you sort of touched on it, right? Like it's the avoidance, the self-trust, shame and guilt are big ones.
Yeah.
Right. Money, shame. And I that one touches me because I held that for so long.
Ugh,
Um,
so hard.
you know,
Hey,
this Oh yeah. What I tell people, the kind of moment for me when the shame was too much and it kind of forced me to act was I was planning a weekend away with some girlfriends, and this voice in the back of my head kept is like the devil on the shoulder, like, you can't go, you shouldn't be having fun, you should be figuring your taxes out. I'm like, wow, not only am I stressed about it, but now I have this voice tapping on the back of my head that I can't even enjoy my life. And so that was the trigger for me. And so I know what money shame feels like.
it's
And
it's an interesting line that you just said. So when shame forced me to act, is that what, do you see a lot of people go through that? Like they just get to this point where the shame is too much that they're like, God, I'm done with it. I gotta make a shift.
I think that's a driver for some people, right? Like there are multiple reasons why people choose to change.
Yeah.
And being in a degree of pain, emotional, physical, whatever that pain might be, is often what drives people. And so yeah, it's like I can't say specifically one thing, but I think generally, yeah, there's a point at which that discomfort just becomes so much that people are like, I can't take it anymore.
Yeah. I'm done. I don't want to live this way anymore. And so if
Yeah.
someone's listening that feels that way, like you are listening at the right place at the right time, because the one thing I love about Sarah is like you really don't make it a big deal. Like I don't know, there's something about the way that you teach money that is calming, that is soothing. It's just like hanging out with a friend. Like I don't need to like go to a fancy office and like sit down with like an accountant and like have a look at my taxes. It's like, okay, like it's okay. It's like a really calm, chill, no big deal vibe, which is so like soothing to the nervous system to begin with. Cause it's like, okay, I don't have to make this a big deal. We can just take a look. And the cool thing, I know you and I've talked about this a lot, is often just by looking, you experience a shift. Have you seen that happen as well? Like with
Oh
the people you're
my
working with?
gosh. Absolutely. Yeah. And honestly, one of the reasons I created my first step program, which is like the initial offer, is that I wanted people to have something that was sort of financially accessible, but was going to provide a really, really powerful shift. And that program helps you take the look, because without a doubt, actually sitting down and looking at your numbers is where I see the most, or like that first kind of wave of resistance come up with people. And I totally get it. It's really confronting because you're forced to look at yourself, is what I say. And here's the thing about feeling tough things is that we hold so much energy thinking about not feeling them or trying to not feel them. And when you actually allow yourself to sit in the discomfort, you can move through it in literally like 2 minutes.
So quick.
It's so quick. And there's So for anyone listening, I just want you to think about that. Like, you think of all the energy that you might be holding on to, that anxiety, that whether it's like, I'm ashamed to look, money makes me feel, stupid, down, like whatever, like, there's the laundry list of these negative self-talk words, whatever that is. I guarantee that you have spent more energy resisting than it will take to sit down and actually work through it with me and my program, or just on your own. Like, there's tools that I have for that as well. And the thing is, once you do that and you're on the other side of it, you may not like what you see. Sometimes I have clients who are like, oh, it's not that bad. But regardless of what you see, then you can start to plan. And once you're in that planning mode, you're back in the control seat, and you're back feeling in control of your finances, and you're not being at the effect of it, is what I say. So yeah, take that look, get back in the driver's seat at the very least. Like, that is, like, honestly, it's such a big step into that money healing journey. Yeah.
Yeah, and really reclaiming your power. I know we're jumping ahead a bit here, but I know one of the resources you're sharing with us today is a tapping script or session to move through that resistance, because that is part of the first step. Is like, okay, I know I need to look at my money. I feel anxious. I don't want to do it. And my body feels tense. And that resistance can be shifted with EFT, like you said, in moments. It's by acknowledging it. Like, I don't want to do this. I'm scared of what I'll see. This feels uncomfortable. What if I don't
Yeah.
like it? What if it's worse than I thought? And it's
Yeah.
by expressing that. It's why it's emotional freedom techniques. By expressing that,
Yeah.
all of a sudden you reclaim your power, and that anxiety of a 10 might come down to a 6 or 7, comes down to a 4. And then next thing you know, like you said, you're back in the driver's seat. So I love this. I also want to share that one of the things you really inspired me to do is enjoy having money dates. Because for years, I've heard other money coaches talk about having a money date, and I resisted it. I just was like, no thanks. But you were like, oh, I do it every Saturday. I make my favorite coffee or tea. I build a fire. Like, I make my house nice and cozy. And I was like, ooh, I could get into that. Like, I could. And so now I do Financial Fridays, and it
Oh,
has
nice.
insanely changed my life. Like, my money has honestly skyrocketed because I'm looking at it and I'm enjoying looking at it.
Cool.
And so I just wanted to share that with you. And I think it was something you said to me, is to just start tracking. And so every Friday, I just create a sheet and I just write down every piece of money that came in. And then
Yeah.
I have another sheet of every piece of money that went out. And just by paying attention to it, it helped me feel so powerful, and then
Yeah.
therefore more. So I just wanted to give you that shout out, because I love how you approach that technique.
Thanks. Yeah. And you said a couple things that I can like weave together here. One is that, thank you for saying that, like, I make money cozy, or whatever your words were, but that's how I like to sell it, right? Like, yeah, money. I I want to have different kinds of conversations about money. I don't want exactly what you said. I don't want people to have to feel like the only way to talk about money is to go into a sterile bank, sit behind a desk where there's like this bizarre sense of authority, or hierarchy. It's like, no, no, no. Like, I'm not an MBA. I wasn't an accountant. I've never worked on Wall Street. I've never even worked at a bank. And you don't need to be any of those things to be good at money. And by continuing that hierarchy, or that hierarchical perception, that I think that's part of like the whole piece of what keeps people like restricted with their money. And so, yeah, how do we make money cozy? I have the Wealth Wellness Lounge. I do it live a couple times a year, and I also have it free for download. And it's just, yeah, they just sit around, grab a coffee, grab a cozy blanket, like, let's have a chat. And that's all it has to be. And then with regards to what you said about the looking, I actually do mine for my personal finances once a month.
Yeah.
So once, I know you have a business, and for business people, yes, I think that there's definitely, you need to be looking more frequently. But for personal finance, once I got the system built, which, yes, that took time, but less time than I thought. And then now I sit down, yeah, the first Saturday of the month, I I make my protein latte because I'm of a certain age and I need to have more protein. And yeah, I put on some cool music and I go through my numbers, and it takes half an hour. And I think what people, but the shift that I like to tell people is especially if, like how much do you spend on, how much time, a week or a month do you spend on your meditation practice, going to the gym, going for runs, doing a creative practice, whether it's journaling or like how much time a month can you spend half an hour looking at your money?
Like a
You
little
know,
bit.
it's, yeah, and it's such an important part of your health and well-being. And so again, yes, it takes time to get a system built, but once it's built, the way I teach it anyway, then the system just runs and you check on it once a month just to make sure everything's ticked and tied and you're happy with the way it's running. And then you're updating some documents and that's it.
Yeah, and I promise you, you will have the best day after you do it. Like that 20 minutes, half hour that I give, I'm on fire. Like after I do it, I feel like so
Yeah.
proud of myself, so pumped. And like it almost for me turns on the creative spark of like, ooh, I could generate money this way. I could do it that way. And then it just, for me, it pulls more towards me because I'm paying attention to it. So hopefully this is really helpful for people that maybe have felt in a lower vibe around money and it's starting to help you feel excited again. Um, I know you had some tips for people that are, maybe struggling or starting to deepen their journey with money. Do you want to share those with us?
Yeah. Some we've already touched on, but I'll kind of summarize them um, one is how be aware of how your nervous system and your behaviors fall prey to spending and marketing. One of the things that I teach in my free program, the Wealth Wellness Lounge, is the difference between self-soothing and self-care. And self-soothing is something that we do like in the moment to get ourselves out of some sort of immediate discomfort, emotional, stress, anxiety, whatever. And on the negative kind of side of that, you have spending money, of course. I have to talk about that one as a money coach, but it could also be binge watching, tuning out, gaming, our television. It could be drinking. It could be, overeating, any of these things that sort of like numb us, or sort of like that's sort of those are the negative self-soothing. The positive self-soothing would be things like tapping, going for a walk, having a nap if you need one, having a cold shower, like all we know it's just easier to do the disassociative stuff than it is to consciously acknowledge, okay, I'm like stressed and I need to like go and do something. So be aware of that. And especially when those things cause you to spend money. So that could be like, oh, I'm just going to order DoorDash because I haven't done meal planning or I haven't, done grocery shopping for the week. So how can you, in that example, how can you even get ahead of that? If you know that you fall prey to spending money for dinner, how can you get ahead of that? There's tons of like meal prep options. Like, anyway, people
Little,
know,
yeah.
yeah, people I think know what I'm talking about. So I won't go into that as a particular solution, but so that's one thing, right? This, how are you self-soothing? And then self-care is like on a bigger scale, how are you taking care of your overall health and well-being? So those are the bigger things, like going to the doctor, going to therapy, getting your financial house in order. And and then yeah, it's those bigger health and wellness pieces that you're doing to take care of yourself. So that's kind of number one, and how that impacts your nervous system and gives you like resilience when you're kind of doing those healthier things. It gives you resilience to resist the impulses. A quick little tip that I have too is that our brains are literally like a muscle, and when it comes to self-control and being able to resist those kinds of behaviors. And I often refer to it as that, those sand timers that you flip over and the sand drains through. So in the morning, our brains flip over and there's like a full thing of sand, and we have all this capability to make good decisions and healthy decisions. And at the end of the day, especially if we've been working 9 to 5 and, herding cats, putting out fires, commuting, we get home and we're tapped, and that sand timer is done. And so our brains fall more prey to those impulse decisions because our ability to have self-control is low. So watch your spending in the evening. If you find yourself scrolling, like step away, leave the cart till the morning, check if you really want it or you need it. And especially if you don't know if your budget can handle it, I would say, press pause. So that's kind of a long-winded answer to like that nervous system self-awareness around money. And I guess it's kind of a segue into like this concept of financial wellness as self-care, as part of your overall health and well-being. And like I said, how much time are you spending a week, a month on, your mental health, whether it's like therapy, meditation, creative practice, physical health, going to the gym, run, yoga, a lot, whatever your choice is. And then like, if you're doing all that thing, if you eat those things and you're eating right and everything, but you're not taking care of your money, then you're really, from my perspective, neglecting a big part of your overall health and well-being.
Mm-hmm.
And I can speak from experience when I say that I had no idea the amount of stress my body was holding on to with regards to money until that stress was gone. And I knew exactly where I stood financially, and I felt in control of it again. And I was like, oh my gosh, it sounds cheesy, but it's like, oh yeah, the sky was bluer and the grass was greener. But it really was quite profound. I didn't really fully realize. And then that kind of, again, third tip is to take that look. Like that is often the biggest hurdle. And once that's over, you have capacity to, take the next steps. Okay, I've looked at my spending. Like, what do I need to be thinking of now for like saving or investing and getting the debt paid down? So all of that stuff can come on the other side and after you've taken that look. And I say this with so much understanding of what it takes, because I'm only 5 years out from having done this myself. And so it's it's a big step. And the one thing that I'm always surprised when I talk to people about is this sense of oh, I'm the only one. It's just like I'm the only one that has this problem. There's this real sense of isolation that people feel because money is so taboo. We don't talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
We don't ask questions about it. It's this thing that like stays hidden. And so, you could know all these deep secrets about your friends, but you might not know that they're holding on to this money stuff. So, that would be my last one.
It's so powerful because, and I would say, look at your money and then look at it again. Like for me, it was like, not just look at my money once, but look at it again and look at it again. And then I started to build a resiliency to the fear that I was having of like, and the avoidance. And it was like, oh, it started a momentum. So it's like, for me, it's been, I do have a business, so it is weekly, but now it's shifted from like, oh, I have to look at my money to, oh, I get to look at my money. And I'm like, so excited to see, and so I would just add that in. Another shift that I found was an identity shift that I had to make from this identity of I'm not very good with money, or I'm not super responsible with money, or I'm not good at the details. That was my story. And so I had this identity that I'm not good with the details. Therefore, I'm going to hire an accounting team that's going to take care of it all. So I don't really have to. And I mean, it was a smart move for me because I have really clean finances in terms of having a good accountant, everything's organized and all that. But there was a subtle way I was disempowering myself because I thought that I couldn't be the one to do it. And so last year I really shifted that, and I still have my accounting team, but I instead of them coming to me with the updates, I come to them with the updates. I'm like, this is what's going on, and I'm informing them. And so for me, it was a really big identity shift of the type of person I am. And shifting out of, oh, I'm not good with the details, to like, I'm actually great at the details, and I'm actually really good at tracking money. And I actually do like Excel spreadsheets or Google Sheets. But I had this story before that like, I hate Excel sheets and I'm not this and I'm not that. And that was old Jackie. New Jackie is good at those things. And I just want to say, like, if you're someone that feels that way too, it's a shift in your identity that will start to happen.
Yeah. Oh, there's so much in that. One of the values that I have built into Sacred Wealth, so that it's one part of the business values, is this concept of efficacy. And it's a new word for a lot of people, but what it means, the way I like to simplify it, is like the ability to make shit happen for yourself.
Yeah.
Right? It's like it's self-confidence, and right, it's a bit more than self-confidence, and that includes things like what you talked about. Yes, I'm going to do the hard thing, but I'm also going to stick with it, because it really is a nervous system retraining. And that's one of the things that I really teach with people, is to have so much compassion for yourself. You don't just flip a switch on things. Very rarely can you. But it's often like you have this switch, this light goes on of awareness, but our nervous system needs time to catch up. And so, yeah, that first look at your numbers is going to probably be challenging and tough, whether it's like you're afraid of what you're going to see, whether you don't like spreadsheets, like that's a big one for people. And so yeah, it does take a little bit of time, but not as much as you would think, to
Yeah.
really just get used to it. And I teach this in the context of habits. Like, you weren't in the habit of looking at your numbers for all kinds of different reasons, but now you are. And it's normal. And so we're trying to bring in this concept of just creating new habits around money. The same way you would, I want to be healthier, so I'm going to create the habit of going to the gym, or I'm going to create the habit of eating more vegetables every week. Like, whatever it is, we're just changing habits. And actually, you helped anchor this in for me, is this perception, and I've woven this in now to my habits teaching, is that there's this perception in our culture that success is the end result. And it's been such an unlock for me, because that puts so much pressure on ourselves, because we do the thing and we don't see the success, so therefore we're a failure. But I use the example, of course, of like the gym, which is really easy for people to conceptualize. If you want to go and bench press 200 pounds, that's not going to happen tomorrow. But tomorrow you take the first step and you go and you bench press 60. And then in 2 weeks you can bump it up to 70, whatever. And so it's that once you've got that habit, you're already successful, because when you get to the bench pressing 200 pounds, you're not going to stop. You're going to keep going, so that you maintain that. So the success already started here in the going on a regular basis. And
Ah,
so the same with money, right? Whether you have money that you want to save for a house, whether you have some debt you want to pay off, whether you have your education for your kids that you want to pay for, it's the habit of like looking and making sure you're contributing a little bit over time. And that's the success right there. And eventually the success pays off, but you've already been successful.
it's so good. And I will say, for me, those habits started in my daily non-negotiables, and the daily non-negotiables turned into weekly. So my daily non-negotiables, no matter what, I sweat every day for 45 minutes. I read, I post, I follow up with 5 people, and I write down my goals. And
Mhm.
if it's a non-negotiable, people are like, well, how do you do it every day? It's a non-negotiable. I don't negotiate with myself. I would say 80% of the time, I don't want to do it, but I'm not acting out of a feeling, I'm acting out of a promise to myself. And that's what changed for me, my identity, because then I'm like, well, this is the type of person I am now. I go to the gym even when I don't want to do it, or I reach out to the people even when I'm tired or it's a little bit later than I normally would. Um, and yeah, there's so much we could talk about in this conversation, but I think that your foundation of nervous system regulation is one of the greatest things that stands out, because you also do teach things like financial literacy and all these like
Oh, we haven't
very,
even gotten into that
I know,
yet.
like,
Totally.
that's a whole other conversation, but this is why
Yeah.
I really believe in your work, and the fact that you have tapping in it is like a superpower. Like,
Yeah.
not all financial people have that, and it can shift things so quickly. So,
Yeah.
let's share with everybody where they can so first of all, what you have for them, because this resource, I'm like, everybody needs it. I'm downloading it. This is amazing. Can you share a little bit about it?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've talked a lot in the last half hour about taking that look. And so this tapping script is really about helping you tap through whatever is holding you back from taking that look. Um, so yeah, it's my gift to you, because once you get on the other side of that, I don't, I always talk 80-20 rule. I wouldn't say it's like 80% of the journey, but it is like a good, solid, like step into getting your finances sorted is taking that look. And once you're on the other side of that, there's a lot of ease that could come with learning the other things. So, and then I love what you reminded me, like, yeah, we've talked a lot about the what I call financial EQ on this call, right? Like the nervous system stuff, but I do of course teach the literacy, the financial IQ. That in itself is like a huge empowerment piece. And then of course you get the systems, like, yeah, you do get a really interactive spreadsheet as well in my world that you can take for life to work with you. So
So
yeah.
good. There's so much
Yeah.
coming up for me around this because, like we mentioned, like it's looking at the money not just once, but again and again and again. And there might be a part of you that comes up that says, no, that's not what we do. Like it's more comfortable to go back over here and like just avoid it and go shopping instead, or like let's go for coffee. Like it can be subtle. Like let's just go to the coffee shop first and then we'll do it. And it's really when you're changing this habit and changing your identity, it's a little sticky the first couple times, even the first few months. For me, it was like, okay, we're doing it again. I don't really want to. Like I could go post on Instagram instead. And it was like, no, this is who I am and this is how I do it. And then it starts to build that momentum. So I love you, Sarah. Can you share with everybody where they can follow you and find you online?
Yes. So I am on Instagram at Sarah Sacred Wealth, and on TikTok at Sacred Wealth Coach. So those are the two main places. And then my website is just sarahpenfold.com for all the program information.
We will have it all linked up. Go and download right now. Go download that tapping script. It's gonna come in handy, and just do it now. Like give yourself permission to dive in today to your finances. Take a look. You're gonna feel so good about yourself when you do it. And then reach out to Sarah because she is the perfect guide for you to help you stay consistent with that practice. So we'll see you next time. Thank you so much, Sarah. I love you. And thank you
Thank
for
you. Bye, everyone.
bye everyone.